Wish me luck. My objective here is to make this the shortest video I've ever made, and you guys know I've made some really long videos, and I'm sorry. This one's going to be short. This is going to be sweet. I'm going to try to just show you some things like super fast so that you can do your own snowman and have fun with it. So a couple of quick things. You want to make a circle. You want to make an ellipse for the body of your snowman. You know, surely using a circle is going to be the easiest thing to do, but there's probably a good chance you don't want your circle to be absolutely perfect because that's not going to look right. If you go to your pen tool, you know you have the anchor point tool there. Click the plus on your keyboard. That's going to give you the plus anchor point. Add an anchor point, maybe there, add it wherever you want, add a few. And then go to your direct selection tool. And now you can go to any one of these anchor points, and on either side you can make adjustments. So if you decide, I'm just gonna, make this circle not quite so perfect anymore, you can do that type of thing. And then you don't have like that perfect snowman look anymore. If that's the kind of snowball you want. You want that not so perfect look. Of course, your other option is just to take your pencil and draw your own circle. If you draw your own circle, there you go. You have the same type of thing. When you're choosing a color for your snowman, just add a tiny bit of blue to it. Like right now, if this is going to be one of the pieces to my body, there's no color in it right now. I would go for something super, super light. That's too dark. I'd go like, that's even too dark. I would go as light as I can. This has some yellow in it. I don't really want a green look. Usually a light blue is okay. And it can't be too light. It's just got to be enough to make it not look like, whatever snow or other things you might add. The other reason you might want to do this is because you might want to add some little shadows or something to the side of your snowball. And if you do that, clearly you don't want a outline around that. But you can then add some color to that, and that could just be slightly bluer, and again, that would be way too blue. It would be something only a fraction darker than what you already have. So that would give that illusion that there's just a hint of a shadow to it. Okay, so very, very minimal. Other thing I want to show you, this line. Okay, right now there's a stroke around this. The stroke is set at 2 points. Okay, maybe you want a thicker stroke. That's perfectly fine. But there are options here. If you click on that stroke button right there where it says uniform, see all these different options? You don't have to use a straight line. You can come up with any kind of line you want. Try them out, see what you like. You might decide that, I want this to have a really artsy feel to it, and you may prefer one line over another. See what you come up with, okay? Maybe I'll just stick with the top one there, and I'll click my selection key to kind of unselect. So now I have a little shadow in there. I've got this snowball. I've got this interesting line, okay? I'm going to get rid of this one just because I'm just showing you pieces here. I'll move that down to the bottom. Next thing I want to show you, how did I make the arms? Well, that was pretty much just drawing. I just pretty much said, okay, I need a stick. My stick's gonna, maybe have twigs coming this way, and maybe there's a twig this way. And again, you got to keep your finger on the mouse. Probably your stick is going to get a little thicker at the bottom, okay? And then that stick can go behind the snowball, it can go in front of it. The line is a little thick right now, so I'm most likely going to reduce the size of that. And I would probably use a different type of line. So once I do that, if I go to the selection key, it's all outlined. I like to use gradients, so I would go to the fill. Right now there is a red gradient in here, which is actually not bad because I'm going to change it into some browns. So that red will become more of a brown. I seem to have a brown here already, and now I'm going to go for a really dark brown. And usually when you're going for really dark colors, they're near the bottom here. I usually just pull from this bar. I look for the color that I like and I pull directly from that bar. And so now this arm has all these little colors to it. You can change the angles, as you know, just by going to the little angle setting there and decide like how do you want the gradient to show up. Do you want it to be top to bottom? Do you want it to be vertical, a vertical? I think this one is going to probably go maybe a 45 degree. Yeah, that's fine. That would work. So anyway, let's just pretend that was going to be the arm of my snowman. Okay, let's get into some of the more tricky things. The hat. And trust me, you don't have to do a top hat. There's so many different kinds of hats. Draw your own hat, make your own hat. If this hat looks complicated to you, don't do it. All right, so there's a rectangle, right? The first thing I'm going to do with this rectangle, I'm going to go back to the selection key. I'm going to select it. I just want to round the edges just a little bit, okay? The reason I want to round them is because I'm going to add an ellipse to the top. And I need the ellipse to blend with the rest. So if I put that here and move this over, and just ignore the gradient on here right now. The gradient does not matter. I need this to line up perfectly. And the reason I need it to line up perfectly is because once these two objects line up perfectly, I'm going to click one, click the other by using the shift key. The other way you can do this is just draw a box around them, and that selects them both automatically. Now I'm going to go to the shape builder tool, and when I draw a line through the whole thing, it turns it into a single object. So now that's a single object, and clearly I don't want a brown top hat. I want a black top hat, so I'm going to change that to black. I might change this to white. This I might change to some kind of maybe a deep blue or something. Whoops. The only problem is I don't have it selected, so without it being selected, nothing's happening. All right, we'll try it again. Black. I'm going to go for like a deep blue. Going to put in a white here. And here I'm going to go back to the black. Everything's good other than the angle. The angle's not going to work. That's a better angle. Okay, so that's probably what I would do in terms of trying to create a top hat. And I don't kind of want a stripe, so that's why I'm moving these little pieces to just sort of get, I think I need a little gray to this, so I might just add another button here, toss in some gray. All right, so let's just say that's the hat. The hat right now looks like a cylinder, so I need to do a little something to it. I'm going to make an ellipse. I'm going to make the ellipse do that. I'm going to move this ellipse so that it's right about there. And then I'm going to select these two objects. This is in front. I'm going to go to Window. I'm going to go to Pathfinder. And I'm going to knock out the ellipse on the right-hand side. If I create another ellipse, I could have just made a copy of that ellipse. That would have been the easier thing to do. I didn't do that, but that would have definitely been easier. All right, so now I've made another ellipse. It's right in front of this. I grab these two objects. I do that, and now it looks like, it's starting to look like a top hat. Okay, if I want to add something here, I can. Okay, the thing I would keep in mind with this is that you're still going to get his head in there. So his head may go in front of this. Like if this were to say be his head, you know, his head might have to be here and in front. So it might look something like that. Okay, once you get, you know, that kind of thing in. If you want to have an extra rim here, just add an extra ellipse to that, and then just put in a different tone. Like for instance, if I took this ellipse, made a copy of it, and maybe this one's just going to be all dark. I'm going to have to make it a little smaller so that it fits inside. Okay. Slide it up a little bit. I'm using my arrow keys to adjust it. I want just a little rim showing, so that's why I'm kind of adjusting this a little bit. Now this, I'd probably just make it a solid black. And so then when I move his head, and of course the head would be in front, then, you know, I have more of the look of what it would probably look like. And there's things I could do to his head to make his head seem like it fits in there better. Right now it looks a little lumpy, but we could certainly fix that. The next thing I want to show you is how would I add, say, a red strip on his hat if I wanted to do something like that. Okay, what I would do is I would select this object, okay, and you see the selection tool is picked. When the selection tool is picked, you see this little thing here that says draw inside. I'm going to click on that, and when I do, I get this cute little dashed box around it. Now anything I draw in here is only going to go inside the hat, so I can draw any way I want. So let's just say I want a nice red ribbon going around this hat, and it looks like that. Okay, and I've drawn outside of the lines. I didn't do a fantastic job. If I click on this and I make it red, you can see that it's red, and I can let go, and there's the red sash. Okay, in mine I decided to turn it into a gradient. You can turn it into a gradient or whatever you want. Again though, you don't have to do a top hat. I simply want you to understand how you do some of these things. Okay, I still have this box around, so I'm going to double click to get rid of it. What are some other things? Maybe you're going to do a scarf. If I was doing a scarf, I'd probably draw the scarf. So I'll pick, oops, get rid of that. I'll pick the pencil tool for this. And let's just say this is going to be my scarf. This isn't, and this is only a piece. I wouldn't be drawing the entire scarf. I would do it piece by piece. When I did this, this was one piece, this was one piece, this was one piece. You know, it either went in the front, the back, wherever, but it's piece by piece. Right now there's no fill, so I'm going to make it white. I'm going to check out the stroke really quick. It's really important to me that my strokes are a little more creative. I don't like those uniform strokes, so I'm going to go with that top one. I think that's kind of nice. So that's the kind of stroke I'm using. Now I want to add some stripes. So I will select this. I will go to the draw inside little icon there. You see the box. When you see the box, you know you're set. You know that it's ready for you to draw inside, and whatever you draw, it's going to only stay within your object. So I draw that, okay? Maybe I want that to be the same color as the hat. I can use my eyedropper, and there I have a stripe. And I still have this set up, so I might as well draw some more stripes. Maybe I'm going to put one here. Okay, again, I'm going to use the eyedropper and pick up the color. Now, in the one I did, I added a little bit of a gradient to it, so it would be a little bit darker on one side. You can certainly do that if you want to. You know, since the scarf looks like it's kind of shifting, I'm letting the stripes also look like they're shifting. I still have this box going around it, so I know I'm still able to continue adding stripes. Okay. And so now I've added stripes to that, and they're all right where they need to be. They're all right inside that scarf. Other little things, carrot, that's an easy little trick. The only thing I would say to you, if you do decide to draw a carrot, when you get to the coloring part of it, you know, try to think about the varying colors that would be part of a carrot. Whoops, I didn't have it highlighted, so it certainly helps to have it highlighted. What happened to my carrot? Let me go to Edit, Undo Color. Okay, so there's the carrot. Oh, see this little line? That little line is preventing me from seeing my carrot here. When I finish with that, I have to double click. That box has to go away. That's why when I drew the carrot, I couldn't see it. So I'm going to draw the carrot again. Okay. Maybe it's a good carrot, maybe it's not. Let's see, what kind of a stroke do I have on it? I'm going to put a 2-point stroke, and I'm going to use that line because I like it. The color I want to be orange, and maybe I want it to have some texture. So now I'll just take my pencil and I'll go inside, and I will kind of create maybe some interesting pattern, some line, and I want it to sort of come up like a shadow, so maybe something like that. Definitely it's not going to have an outline around it, but it will have an orange tone to it, but it's going to have to be very close to the original orange. I want it to be subtle. Okay, so maybe my carrot has something like that, and it could be a little darker if I wanted it to be. If I wanted it to have a deeper orange to it, I could. Buttons, things like that are going to be super simple for you. If you go for buttons or things like that, you pick the color of your button. Decide. Most likely it's going to have a stroke, so give it a stroke. And again, I'm sticking with the one I like, so I'll go there. Make a copy, Control C, Control V, You know, this one, of course, is going to be a little bit smaller because this is going to be inside. You only need to build one. That's the great thing about Illustrator. You make it once and you group it and you copy and you paste it. If I want tiny little buttonholes on this, I'm going to make tiny little black circles, okay? So I probably don't need an outline. All I need is black. And if I look at that, if I click the selection tool, there's a little black dot right there. I'm going to copy that, Control C, Control V. You can see it showed up over here. Sometimes you'll copy something and you don't know where it shows up, especially when it's something super tiny. So just kind of keep your eye open to see where it shows up. I'm going to click Control V again. I'm sure it's going to keep showing up in the same place. Control V, it's going to keep showing up in the same place. And you can just add that to your button. I like to use the arrow keys on my keyboard to help me move things once I get them close to where I feel like they need to be, because when you're working with just increments, it's easier to use that little up or down button to get it where you need to be. If you need to zoom in, zoom in. You know, I haven't really done much zooming in. I could certainly zoom in if I want to see this button closer. It is a small object, so there's nothing saying that I can't zoom in really close to make sure I get all the details I want. And maybe you want tons of details. Maybe you want to add some highlights to your maybe you want to add some highlights. That would certainly be kind of a cool thing to add to your button. And just keep in mind, you only have to do it once, because once you do it, it becomes part of all of them, and all you have to do then is group, copy, and paste. And these are close enough. They don't have to be perfect buttons. But if, let's just say I do, maybe the button itself is going to be a gradient. So I'll click the gradient button. And actually that reminds me of those buttons that they used to like put on jackets. I kind of like that. I might just leave that. And so maybe I'll do the same there. So that kind of gives me a really interesting button. And then once my button is finished, I group the whole thing. I go to Object, I go to Group. I hit Control minus when I want to make my page smaller. So now this button is done. And if this was the body right now, and I needed to put it on the body, get it to the size you want it, and then just Control C, Control V. You notice I haven't done any layers with this. It's almost not necessary for this type of thing. We're really just building one thing, so you just go for it. So I'm looking to see if there's anything else that would be helpful to you. You know, what might you want to add to your snowman? Flowers. If you recall, I showed you a really cool way to make both flowers, and this would be a great way to add snowflakes. So this will be the last thing I do. I'm going to draw, and this is going to be for the background. I'm just going to draw this little crazy shape, okay? This is going to be my background, and it's not going to have an outline around it. It's going to be just a really soft blue. It's going to have to be a lot lighter than that. Lighter, lighter. I'll go up to my slider. That'll definitely help me get it as light as I want it. It's going to go into the background, so I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Okay, so now it's in the background. Maybe I want it to be a transparency. You know, I don't want it to be a full color. I want it to be a transparency. I can go to opacity, and that'll lighten it even more. Okay, so now I've got this just a little bit of color back there. This I'm going to move up here. That was part of my snowball, so I'll put that there. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to bring it back for 1 second because I need to bring it to the front. So let me just hit Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now when I move it up, it'll be in front of the snowball where it was designed to be. All right, so if I want to make some snowflakes, I'll start with a star. I'll make this star. My star already has a lot of points. If you double click, you're going to get the little menu that asks you how many points do you want your star or your polygon to have. If I made this 3, it would become a triangle. If I made this 4, it would become a square. I have it set at 11. Maybe I'll change it to 12. So I've changed it to 12, and when I change it, it makes a duplicate. So I'll get rid of the first one. The first one had 11. This one has 12. And maybe I'll bring it over here so that you guys can see it better. Okay, so here's the star. Okay, and that could be a snowflake if you wanted it to be. But do you remember that pucker and bloat? If you go to Effect, if you go to Distort and Transform, there's your pucker and bloat. I can do 2 things with pucker and bloat. If I pucker, I get something that kind of looks like that, okay? And if you're going for a star and you don't really want to sit there and draw all of the things that would go into a star, this could be a cool way to make stars. And keep in mind, you might want to put an outline around it. Maybe you're going to put a white outline around it. Maybe you don't want anything on the inside. Maybe you want your, you don't want to fill. So that could be your star. Now it's kind of big right now, so you might reduce it in size, you know, to whatever size you want. And you could have these little snowflakes, okay, that could kind of show up on top of your background. Maybe you're going to decide that your background needs to be darker for you to actually see these snowflakes. Maybe you want your snowflakes to actually not be white. Maybe you want them to be a deep blue or some other color. This is your design, so you can do whatever you want. The other thing you can do with a star, okay, and I'm not sure that you would have a need for flowers or anything like that, but if you move in the opposite direction and you go with the bloat part of this, interesting things happen there too. And if you were to put a radial gradient on that, I mean, you could have like a cool flower that he could have in his hat. You know what I mean? Like, say, let's just put a cool little gradient on him. We're gonna put some, so it wants to give me the there we go. Now we're getting colors. This is what I want. Maybe I'll put some purple in there. You definitely don't want black. Okay, so I have some colors in here. That red probably needs to be a much deeper, more Christmassy red. And I certainly would not want this to be, you know, I would want the gradient to be round. So if I do something like that, and again, I'm gonna make it smaller because right now it's very big. I mean, I could decorate my hat with something like that. I could draw some holly or something if I want some, you know, some little piece of holly. And keep in mind, what makes these things look really, really nice is not so much that they look terribly real, but just that you're duplicating them, and you have you know, multiple things. So if I change the angle of that gradient, what am I going to change it to? Oh, I still have it on radial. That's why it's not working. There we go. All right. So if I kind of do something like that, I could add a line in the center of it, make sure the stroke on it is a stroke that I like. Go with a 2-point, go with something like that. My outline is blue. I want it black. All right, so you know this could actually be something behind the flower if I wanted something like this. I'm just kind of experimenting now and giving you ideas on how these things work. So you get to decide how you want things to be. Don't forget, object, the thing you're going to need to just be completely aware of is that when you're only using one layer, which we pretty much are, we're just using one layer, it's as simple as just always going to object and going bring to front, send to back. You know, it's pretty simple that way. So not having to deal with layers with something like this is probably an easy thing. So I'm gonna stop here. I hope that you've gotten some tips out of this. Ask me for help if you need it. And good luck. I can't wait to see these snowmen. I think they're going to be awesome. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.